Back out here in the garage. It's been about a year since I've done a video on my acoustic rig. It's changed a little bit over time, and then most recently went through some pretty big changes. And I hadn't seen anybody do any videos with the Rupert Neve DI, so just some kind of pristine corporate videos and some things like that of the Rupert Neve DI. Hadn't seen anybody do anything, especially with an acoustic guitar. So I figured I'd put that up. And you know, I did an acoustic rig video a few years ago. You can look it up on my channel, and it's gotten, I don't know, 20-something thousand views or something, which is, you know, pretty cool. So somebody's keeping track, and obviously people putting different acoustic rigs together. Folks are interested like me. I look stuff up all the time. So I figured I would share. And I also do a little bit of a comparison here for you with the LR Baggs Venue, which is what I came from, over to the Rupert Neve DI. Now the Venue system is really great. I've been using it for several years. You know, don't really have a lot of complaints about it. This thing has been bulletproof. You know, the tuner's a little sketchy, as most people know, but really everything else is great. It's very hard in a pedal that size especially to find that kind of an EQ section, which is probably why most people get it. It does have an effects loop. I started to have a weird problem with the effects loop where it would, it just was noisy for some reason. I could never figure it out. I could use the exact same cables, take it out of the effects loop and just run direct through the box out to the board, and it was quiet as a mouse. So I never could figure out if it was something with this particular DI or if it was just some weird thing or something. I never really could figure it out. But anyway, I started just running everything direct through it, and it fixed that problem, and it was fine for me. I have a little boost that you can get here, and of course you can configure how much boost in the back. The effects loop is nice for those scenarios where, you know, it works and you want to use it, and of course the EQ is great too. It's just not very pedal friendly. This is a pedal train junior. I don't want to drag anything else any bigger than this out anywhere, and so this thing is a pedal hog, or a pedal board hog anyway. And so you can see the Rupert Neve DI, very small, you know, not much to it. There's obviously not a lot of controls or anything to it, but it's very small, sits on there nice without any problems. So what I wanted to do here, just real quick, is to do a real quick A/B comparison, and then kind of walk through some pedals and stuff, and just kind of how my thing is set up. But there is a huge difference, and I don't know, my setup here is my pedal board comes into a channel on my Allen & Heath Q16, and then out I'm just running one of my, this is an EAW Redline RL12 cabinet, and I'm just running one of them, and then I'm using my Tommy Emmanuel Maton, which I bought several weeks ago and had a chance to gig with it the other night, and the guitar is unbelievable. Best electronics I've ever heard, ever used an acoustic guitar, and this guitar is just phenomenally fun to play. So that's basically the setup that I have here. So I'm not sure entirely how the sound is going to translate from the speaker. It sounds amazing, if you can imagine sitting right here, but how it's going to translate into the GoPro. So I'll just kind of set this up here, and then we'll start with the. Now there's nothing wrong with that. That sounds good, you know. Everything EQ wise on the LR Baggs here is just straight up, because the Rupert Neve obviously has no EQ section or anything. And on the channel for my acoustic guitar, I have a high pass filter. I think it's at about 80 or something like that, and then flat EQ. And so I do all the EQ and everything on with the, you know, on the pedal board, and just keep everything flat. So let's do a quick switch over, and we'll just mute this guy. We'll plug the guitar in, and we'll switch the XLR here. Pretty easy to do that. I tried to keep the levels, you know, kind of the same. So there's something that on the high end, I don't really know. I don't really know what it is. Maybe have got both of those, the presence and the treble, just sitting right, you know, at 12 o'clock, which should be adding none, taking none away kind of a thing. The bags is just not, you know, when you listen to them comparatively, it sounds harsh to me on the high end, certainly in the mids, and where this, you know, you could totally, for me, I could plug that in just like that and be completely fine with it. And for the most part, I do. You can see the EQ here. So basically, I need the parametric EQ. I've got one band in the guitar itself. This is a Maton. It's got the AP5 Pro pickup in it. So I got a notch filter here that I can use. And then of course coming in, I go to the tuner and then go to the Empress EQ. And if you can't really see this very close, I'll just kind of bring the camera over here for a minute here, but just to kind of show you what the settings are, what it looks like. The cool thing is at the top of this pedal, you can see that you can control the Q, which you can't do obviously on the bags. And that's kind of a really neat setting. This is a very musical EQ too. And anyway, so you can pick the Q. So if you want a big chunk that you want to, you know, dip or raise, you can do that. If you just want to find a specific frequency and do that, which is pretty much what I'm doing. I think I'm using the smallest Q for a couple of them, and then the medium one for one of the bands. And really, you can see this kind of takes not really too noticeable. I don't really change that very much. I mean, for obvious reasons. And then there's a little bit of a boost. You can control how much boost right here. You can see mine's pretty low. I don't have much. I don't use it. You know, there's a lot of boost in there. You can see how that's a noticeable, very noticeable level to me, and it's, you know, at like 1.5 or something. So you have a lot of boost in that pedal. And then from there, out of here, I come into a Klon, an overdrive pedal. And I've got several overdrive pedals, and that one seemed to work the best for acoustic stuff. And so it's really fun to do, if you do any looping stuff, to kind of get a little bit of a loop going, and then to dial in some overdrive. So you get a little bit of a gain, a little bit extra gain there, obviously. You can control that. This pedal's pretty simple, obviously. There's a level control, a tone control, and then a gain control, and then there's a couple controls up here. There's a fat, and then there's like a, you know, germanium, and then you know, something else up there. But it's a Klon. I'll put what the name of the pedal is. It's down here. You can see the pedal. It's called Vertigo Effects. You can kind of get a look at the pedal there a little bit. Pretty cool pedal. I tried several of them, and that was the one, to me at least anyway, to my ears, that gave the best sound. And I played it live a couple nights ago, and it was great. It worked out really great. Obviously, when you're doing that stuff, you got to spend some time getting levels and everything right, so that the gain structures, or you click a pedal and it doesn't start to feedback and go crazy. But anyway, out of there, over into the this back a little bit, over into the Strymon Flint. And so the Flint's a really cool pedal because it's a tremolo and a reverb. And so I kind of use only one reverb on here. There's a 60s, 70s, and 80s reverb. And if you actually go look at the Strymon channel, they have a demo of the Flint with some folks playing some acoustic stuff through it, which is really pretty cool. And so like there's a reverb that I use on here, and I just really kind of focus on the decay. You can get it. I use the 80s reverb, and so you can get this thing if you turn it all the way up. Then it just kind of goes and goes and goes and goes. I put it about right here at a mix level, about right there. And you get this really nice kind of lush, you know. Then you can add in the tremolo. And so there's some cool tremolo settings here, you know, where you can I'm up at the first one here, which is the 61. And then the one I usually stay on is the middle one, which is kind of a more traditional 63 tube. You can hear that. You can adjust the intensity a little bit more so you can hear it a little better. And then finally the one down here is less practical. So I usually leave it on that kind of a setting there, put it at intensity about right there, and then right, get a nice kind of cool sound there. Now we're just back to on the Strymon here. I really only use 3 patches, so that's kind of a. This is the bloom setting there. That's kind of a standard, just sort of a standard reverb. This is a little bit more kind of a. This is the also a bloom setting, but it's just a little bigger. Bigger setting. And this one I kind of use, this is the non-linear setting, and so it's kind of a cool thing. It's got a neat sort of metallic sound to it, but I use it really as a delay as well, so it's like a reverb and a delay. And you can do a couple things with it. The only 2 parameters I usually ever change is the mix, so we can, you know, get the full really what it sounds like. So obviously I'll turn that, you know, make adjustments to that accordingly. About right here so you guys can hear it. And then you got the decay, so you can change the delay, you know. All the way up to 2 seconds. So, not really practical there, but somewhere, you know, whatever. Now, the only time I really use that setting is when I bring in the overdrive pedal. And so, I bring this guy in. So, you know, that's really it there. And then, you know, you can bring this guy in too if you want to get, you know, kind of crazy with the. Get kind of crazy with that. But the thing that I love about, you know, if you just leave that sort of setting like that. This pedal here just really get the level right. You know, you get a nice sort of thing going there, and then if you want to get a little boost to it, you know, plus this is going to drive. You know, just. So kind of a, you know, kind of a cool thing. So if you were wanting to do, you know, not a great loop, but now you can can kind of dial this in, dial this guy in. You didn't really need that. Of course, with a looper, still kind of tweaking this stuff out here so you can adjust the level of your loop and then figure it all out. That's how that works. So that's really the rig. I mean, I've been having a lot of fun with it. It sounds really great. Can't recommend the Rupert Neve DI enough, really. I know that the GoPro here is not doing what I'm hearing out of the speaker here, even half the justice, but just wanted to put a review out there so somebody could see it in action and just kind of see you know, kind of what the setup looks like. The DI itself, again, you know, you can go look up some other videos, but the DI itself there's not really a whole lot going on. You can see in here there is you know, the last out of the last pedal, which is my looper pedal here, comes into the input, and then there is one output here and then a ground lift switch in the back. So that's it. It does need 48 volt phantom power, and you can see the light lit up here, which is not a problem with my board. I can throw phantom power down on a channel. Works great. This is basically like you know, you can bring a speaker from an amp head as an example. You can bring the output, instead of running it into a speaker, you can run it right into this guy. So you can kind of reamp and do some really cool things with it. You know, probably more from a recording perspective. But I do have a little recording setup in my house, and so this will be kind of fun to play with, running guitars direct into, you know, something like a guitar rig, something, you know, or some VST kind of guitar effect.